Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about trend lines and predictions. The T that goes with this is 8.5D, and it's use a trend line that approximates, that means estimates, the linear relationship between bivariate sets of data to make predictions. Remember, bivariate means two sets of variables. So, we're looking at some vocab word first. A trend line is just a straight line that comes closest to the points on a scatter plot. Okay, and scatter plot, remember we looked at those the other day. So how do we draw a trend line? Well, here's an example. This is the best way to talk about how we're going to draw a trend line. So you will need a ruler for this. If you don't have a ruler, just use something with a straight edge. It says, Joyce is training for a 10K race. For some of her training runs, she records the distance she ran and how many minutes she ran. So the first step is to make a scatter plot of Joyce's running data. So I want you to pause this and just graph this data. Or you can graph it with me, whatever works. Over 4, up. You're going to have to estimate some of these. I like to check off when I'm finished. 2. Yes, I'm talking to myself. It helps me think. Alright, so it should look something like this, and remember we know that this is going to be a positive correlation. It means that the dots are, for the most part, going up. Alright, now the second part says, draw a line through the data. Hint, your line should have about the same number of points above it as it does below it. So this is where our ruler comes in, and we're going to... It kind of looks like it's going to go through the origin, so I'm going to kind of draw a line like this, and I can see that, because I have a clear ruler, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3 above and about 4 below, so that's pretty accurate. So there's my trend line, alright? And 3, it says, use your trend line, so it's going to ask you to predict things. Use your trend line to predict how long it would take for Joyce to run 4.5 miles. So, we're going to use this purple line that I drew to look at, we have distance down here. If I had to go up 4.5, that would be about right here. And that looks like it's going to take her 45 minutes. So using my trend line, I approximated that it's going to take her 45 minutes to run 4.5 miles. Alright, so it's fairly simple, just drawing a line through some points. So, how do we find the equation of a trend line? You can write the equation of a trend line by using the same steps we always do. First step, find the slope of the trend line using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, this is where you pick 2 points. Then you're going to find the y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis? And then you're going to substitute the slope and the y-intercept into our equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. Alright, so here's our example. It says the scatter plot and the trend line show the relationship between the number of chapters and the total number of pages of several books. Write an equation of that trend line. Well, the first thing I see is that I need to find a slope. So I just need to pick 2 points. I'm going to pick this point, and I'm going to pick this point. Now, I see a bunch of other points on there, but the key is your points have to be on the line. So, then I'm going to write the points of this equation, or the 2 points I picked. I picked 2, 20. Oh, you can't see anything I'm doing. I'm so sorry. Okay, what I just did is all I did was read this, and then I picked these 2 points right here. Alright. 2, 20 was this point. I went over 2, up 20. Okay? Then, to pick my next point is right here. Now, don't get mixed up. You're not going to go up 60 and over 6. This is not, we're not actually looking at the rise of a run right now. We're just trying to locate the point. And to locate a point, you always go over and then up. So we went over 6, up 60. Alright? And then you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I always label my points. So y2 is 60 minus 20 over 6 minus 2. Simplify. 60 minus 20 is 40. 6 minus 2 is 4. This can be simplified. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So we know that our slope is, so far, y is equal to 10x. And I know it's positive 10 because my trend line is going up. Alright, now where does it cross the y-axis? I can already see that it crosses my y-axis at 0, so I know that this is going to be the equation of my line. If you wanted to prove that, you would just have to pick 2 points and plug them in. So, or pick 1 point, sorry. If I pick this point, my y value is 20, is equal to, my x value is 2. I know my slope was 10. 20 is equal to 10 times 2 is 20. So that means that that's a true statement, so I don't have a y-intercept. Alright, now let's flip over on the back. That's how you find the equation of a line. We're going to talk about how we make predictions. Alright? So, making predictions, which is kind of what we already looked at, but we had to add some new vocabulary words in it. So, interpolate and extrapolate. These are weird words, and it took me a while to get my head around it, so I know it's going to take you a while, so we're going to use these words often so you become familiar with them. So, to interpolate means, when I hear that, I kind of think interpret, but we'll see if that fits. So, when we use a trend line, remember that's the line that we draw through a scatter plot or its equation to predict a value between data points we already know. So, if we're predicting a value between the points that we already know, like if we're predicting the value, like we did on the first one with the 4.5, that's called interpolating. Now, extrapolate means when we predict a value that's outside the data we know. So maybe we don't know, maybe we don't have all the data. Maybe it asked for on the first one, instead of asking for 4.5, maybe it asked for 10. That would be extrapolating because you're going beyond the data. Okay, so use the equation of the trend line in the last example to predict how many pages would be in a book with 26 chapters. So, in this prediction, is this prediction an example of interpolation or extrapolation? Well, do we have the 26 chapters? Do we know that? No. So I know that's outside of the data I already know. So I know this is automatically going to be extrapolation. Alright, now it says write the equation for your trend line. We found that y was equal to 10x. Now substitute the number of chapters in for x. My number of chapters was 26. So I'm going to substitute 26 in for x. Then I got to simplify. 10 times 26 I know is 260. So I predict that a book with 26 chapters will have 260 pages. Right? Extrapolation because it was outside of the data we knew. If it was 18, it would be interpolation because it's inside the data we already know. Right? Basically, this just means out of graph, and this means in graph. Alright, so reflection. Predict how many pages would be in a book with 14 chapters. Is this prediction an example of interpolation or extrapolation? So we're still going back to our original example. 14 chapters, I see 14 is right here. And so I see it's inside my graph. So I automatically know if it's inside my graph, it's going to be to interpolate. Okay? And then if you look at where does 14 hit your y or your trend line, it hits it at 140 pages. So you know that interpolate and it's 140 pages long. Alright, and last one. Do you think that extrapolation or interpolation is more accurate and explained? Well, what happens if data stops? That's what I want to know. So if data stops and you're extrapolating, that means you're looking outside of the graph. Is that going to be accurate? No, because the data stopped. So in my opinion, interpolation is more accurate because the predicted value fits between known points where the trend line is known. There is no guarantee that a trend line will continue beyond the data points, the known data points. Alright, now I know you didn't just listen to me because all you're worried about is writing this down. So I want you to pause this, and I want you then to read this over to yourself. When you're finished with that, you are done. Again, you couldn't see that, so haha. Here you go, you had to listen to me anyway. So there's your stuff that you wanted to write down so badly. Alright, and write this down and have a great day.